So my name is Sarah Chapman, and I'm the executive director of Media Burn Archive, which is based in Chicago. We're a nonprofit, and we collect, preserve, and distribute documentary and experimental media produced by artists, activists, and community groups. And our mission is to create positive social change by amplifying underheard voices, both in the contemporary dialogue and the historical record. So I wanted to let everyone know that there are captions available. And if you want to view captions, if you go to the bottom of your screen where there's like the mute button and all those things, one of the options is captions. And so if you click that, it'll turn on captions for you if that helps you. Um, the event is also being recorded. So if you end up zoning out for a little bit or you leave early, it will be available later. Or if you're so excited about it, you want to share it with everyone you know, we'll get that recording out to you all, hopefully by tomorrow. Um, and what else? So, this event is part of an ongoing free series called Virtual Talks with Video Activists that we've been doing for 4 years now. And we use this series to create conversations surrounding media production. It's also part of a series of in-person and virtual events leading up to a symposium on guerrilla television that we're doing in April. It's going to be at the University of Chicago in partnership with them and with Video Data Bank. And we would love to see all of you there in April. It's going to be a really great time and wonderful to meet many of you in person for the first time. But tonight we are going to be viewing and discussing the International Videoletters project. I'm very excited to learn more about this because it's very fascinating and I don't know very much about it yet. So our guests are Ariel Dougherty and Lexington Davis. Ariel is a filmmaker, scholar, and teacher whose work is centered around her advocacy for women-identified media. And Lexington is a scholar at the University of St. Andrews who has graciously agreed to participate tonight, even though it is, I believe, maybe midnight there. And she just wrote an article about International Videoletters, which was published in the journal Feminist Media Histories. We also have a number of the original Videoletters participants on hand, and some of them have identified that role in their Zoom names. You can tell. But all of us are going to be joining in conversation throughout. So I am going to turn it over to Ariel to provide context for International Videoletters. And then after that, we're going to screen one video letter that's just under 30 minutes. And then after that, we'll all come back and we'll talk. During the screening and when you're not talking, if you could please stay muted because the cross audio just makes it very hard for everyone to hear. So later on, we definitely encourage you to participate either in the chat or out loud. So yeah, I hope this is going to be a fun night. I'm very excited and turn it over to Ariel.
Thank you, Sarah. International Videoletters was a beloved project for those of us engaged with it. It sprung out of the Conference of Feminist Film and Video Organizations held in New York City, February 1975. We wanted to communicate about creating and building feminist community, and half-inch porta-packs were generally accessible to many of our media groups. The first screening of tapes was at the Feminist Eye, a sister conference in Los Angeles, at the end of March. By then, 9 communities signed on. While the immediacy of half-inch reel-to-reel video was inspiring and a novelty at the time, its editing was far more challenging. The plan was for each community to produce a half-hour tape every 2 months, mostly editing in the camera, although we didn't really do that, and then exchange it via mail with 2 other communities in their constellation. In New York City, our constellation included Los Angeles and Tucson. To hold monthly screenings in New York City and DC, we did a full exchange with Spectra Media in DC for their constellation of tapes that include San Francisco and Rochester. Often we shipped these tapes via the bus that ran every hour between New York City and DC, the same way the networks exchanged materials at the time. The range of content, style, and dynamics of the video letters was vastly different community to community. In New York City, we were wide-eyed by the first tape from Tucson, where a newly elected councilwoman sat with her cowgirl boots propped up on a corral fence, and women fried an egg on the sidewalk. As feminists guerrilla television was not our moniker, as Lexington Davis's article, Creating a Feminist Nation, implies. Our tribal notebook was what Betty Brown of Love dubbed this work. Were there other such long-lasting tape exchanges in the time period? Davis's article captures a key component of the project, which was to record and incorporate audience feedback. That the most extensive and existing feedback was recorded at Mother Courage in New York City, rather than our normal screenings at the Women's Inner Art Center, where Susan Milano ran a highly successful video program and festival, is itself significant. But now on with the video letter from Santa Cruz.
Mama taught me to be gentle, love the man the way I should. Papa taught me to be simple, love the world if all I could. Sisters taught me pity, and brother taught me smile. But who's gonna teach me to be strong when the tears come? Who's gonna teach me to be strong? Campbell taught me to be a mother, love the kids that I did born. Simple taught me patience, and sang my song. Pretty was my daughter, and smiling was my son. But who's gonna teach them to be strong when the tears come? Who's gonna teach them to be strong? I think that I'm dying, my time is at its end. I wanna leave some learning to those who won't get dead. I gave a bit of laughter, but with that you are warm. I wish I could leave you something strong for when the tears come. And they will come. I wish I could teach you to be strong.
At the
I'm Anne, and a group of people from the Women's Media Collective have been taping in town the New American Movement series of lectures on the political economy in the United States. And this video letter is a part of the last lecture, which we taped last night, which is a survey of all the different political groups in Santa Cruz and what they're doing.
You have to post the bail before we'll release you, before you can even post bail here, but be released on your own recognizance. Or sometimes if you can't post the bail, they'll extradite you for this. Right now we're doing a statistical study of people that are have holds that are in the jail, and we're finding out all we can about how possibly they could be removed, and our goal is to establish some form of warrant or clearance procedure, hold clearance procedure. Another project that we have is court watching, where a group of people are observing arraignments in all of the courtrooms in the county, and this has several purposes. First of all, to provide ourselves and the community with facts about who is being arrested, who's being detained, and who's appearing or not appearing. This is to enable us to be able to propose realistic alternatives to county bureaucracy. Also, the defendants are usually the only people in the courtroom, and it's really important to have the public sitting there and exert pressure on judges to be able to exchange ideas also and about criminal justice and community-based corrections. One of the most outrageous things that we found is in the South County in Watsonville, Judge Marlowe's courtroom. There's rarely a public defender. And right now we really need people to be sitting in Watsonville to find out what's really going on. There's some really just amazing things that are happening down there. Also, we have 2 subgroups within the Jail Moratorium Coalition that are focusing on alternatives to the way that alcoholism and juveniles are dealt with in the state and especially in the county. And hopefully this research will produce more, produce proposals for more community programs. We're also trying to get out newsletters to let other community groups know what we're doing. And we have a small petition drive that's going on asking Governor Brown to put a freeze on all of the LEAA money, Law Enforcement Assistance Association money, that's not to spend it on jails, but hopefully to spend it on other community programs. A really important time for the jail issue is at budget time, which is the 3rd week of June, and decisions are supposed to be made concerning where the money is going to go by the Board of Supervisors. They can commit a massive amount of more money to go for the new jail, and we would prefer that they don't, obviously. Last year, the Board of Supervisors put aside $1.3 million for the proposed law enforcement complex and $250,000 for a police communications center. The money sits in an account, and at this time is not yet really committed to these projects. There's no legal binding reason that the Board of Supervisors says, can say, they can back out and say that we can use this for other things. We'd like to see this money go for more productive projects. There are 79 proposals for revenue sharing money from various community groups, and we're supporting proposals with more social value. The revenue sharing proposal that the Jail Moratorium Coalition has drawn up asks for a lump sum of $500,000 to be placed aside in a community criminal justice account. And we want this money to be used for different programs such as youth services and dealing with problems such as drunk driving. The Community Congress is another group that's developing an alternative revenue sharing budget that we will review and support because it calls for the money to be used on social programs that are going to better the life of the community. These programs will be directed at the people who needs them. We need money, we need support for revenue sharing, and we ask you to support Community Congress's alternative budget. And right now, JMC is planning a community forum, which is going to be held on Thursday, June 12th at 7:30 at Laurel School. And the purpose of this forum is to educate the community as to the need for citizen participation in county criminal justice and to gain support for a revenue sharing proposal. We plan to have several speakers, film, and follow-up discussions. So please, everybody, please come. And also, we'd like some help on this so that if anybody wants to help on us, let us know. Thank you. Excuse me? This is on June 12th at 7:30 at Laurel School. Any questions? Thank you.
Okay, I'm Susan Steinhorn. I'm going to talk about California Homemakers Association. I don't like that thing. About California Homemakers Association. California Homemakers Association is an association of people who are doing attendant care work and domestic work, and also elderly and disabled people in Santa Cruz who are receiving attendant care. And a lot of the things that Mike Ratkin was saying directly relate to what's happening with CHA right now. Like, first of all, that there's a huge elderly population in Santa Cruz. There's also a huge unemployed population in Santa Cruz. And because there are so many elderly people here, there's also a proportionately large number of people who do attendant care work, who go into other people's, elderly and disabled people's homes and take care of them. And as domestic workers, they've never been covered by labor laws, just like farm workers. So there's no kind of minimum wage coverage, there's no Social Security benefits, there's nothing like that. And a lot of the people who are receiving attendant care get it on SSI, which is State Supplemented Income, which is for people who are disabled, stuff like that. So they're on a fixed income to begin with, and they need the care in their homes, or they'd have to end up going into nursing homes and stuff like that. So in order for them not to have to go into nursing homes, the county has this attendant care program set up, which Visiting Nurses Association sponsors. And what it is that the Visiting Nurses has the contract for people to go into other people's homes and take care of them. And it's the kind of agency where the agency is paid $4.25 an hour and the worker gets $2 or $2.25 an hour. It's that kind of thing. So there's also a thing called an attendant grant, which the person on SSI gets in order to be able to pay a worker to come in their home and take care of them. And legally, that grant is supposed to go up to $350 a month or $450 a month if the person is severely impaired. But in this county, people, if they're told at all that they're eligible for the attendant grant, are told that the maximum is $250, and the average grant in this county is $145. So that's like this, that's not a living wage, right? Okay, then on top of that, social services costs are now being cut. So one of the things that we really need help on, besides our daily activities of canvassing, which is how we find people, since attending care work and being old and disabled are all really isolated individual kind of things. And so we canvass door to door and we find our members. We have like 900 members now. We've been here since October. And we do bucket driving to get money because we don't take county funds. But besides that, we're going to start needing people to help us do research on what's happening with the county, on the different agencies that the county is making contracts with, and directly talking, maybe talking to the board of supervisors or whatever kind of thing that turns out to be necessary for us to do in order to start improving these conditions for the people that are doing the work and for the people who are receiving the care. So we'll be here after everyone talks, and we have some literature, and we'd like to talk to you, and we'd like you to come down and help out.
Hi, I'm Mark Orish from the Tenants Union of Santa Cruz. I'd like to ask a question. How many people here have moved in the last 12 months? Well, it's kind of clear that, there isn't much control over our housing. We have to move, not really because we want to, but maybe because the price is too high. The housing is falling apart. All kinds of reasons. The Tenants Union of Santa Cruz is trying to get people to have a measure of control over their housing. We'd like to see rent control. We'd like to have people know what they can do about their housing rights. But it's, we're trying to build a mass organization in Santa Cruz, and we need your help. We have about 30 committed people that are working right now in the Tenants Union. And if people don't come to us or, work with us, I don't know. The city's got a housing information center that they're going to set up. And because of the housing shortage is so acute here, it's like 1% vacancy rate, which means it's pretty bad. But this is going to happen regardless of what people want. I mean, the housing information center is going to be run by bureaucrats for bureaucrats. And we'd like to see some people take initiative, and the people have a say in what kind of housing they'd like to have. We'd like to see more neighborhood control, more low-cost housing. And the only way that we're going to get that is if we all join together and present the city with what we think are just demands. Present them with what we feel. And the Tenants Union is really working for people's interests, and I think it'd be beneficial if all people who are tenants here to come and see me and give me a call or something. I'm at 476-9290. I'd like to give you a meeting time for the next one, but we're meeting tonight. That's why I'm the only person from the union that's able to speak, because I'm here anyway, because I'm part of this thing here. But I'd appreciate anybody calling who's interested, and the more people, the more power we're going to have.
My name is Elaine Draper, and I'm representing a group of people in Santa Cruz that make up a chapter of the Union of Radical Political Economists and the Union of Marxist Social Scientists. At a national level, the Union of Radical Political Economists, or URPE, was started by a group of radical economists and is a loose organization of individuals and chapters which are particularly strong in the Bay Area, with chapters in Berkeley and Stanford and San Jose. It's one of the main forums in the country in which political economy is developing. It's a way for people to discuss various problems in economics. IRPE publishes a quarterly journal called the Review of Radical Political Economy, and a monthly magazine of economic affairs called Dollars and Cents, which is written fairly simply, and it's for an audience of non-economists, and they're all available in the back. IRPE also initiates various national research and publicity projects around food, women's political economy, energy, and health, and organizes conferences on political economy at various times and places. Then the Union of Marxist Social Scientists is a West Coast organization started a few years ago by mostly sociologists and anthropologists, puts out a quarterly newsletter. And the reason why IRPE and UMass are working together in Santa Cruz is we saw the work of these two groups as basically part of the same struggle with similar goals and interests. Both organizations grew out of the needs of radical people whose work is focused on educational institutions and who see themselves connected to struggles for political change. We recognize that a whole lot of ideological production goes on in academic institutions, that we can use the tools of academic work as well as our familiarity with ideology and the academic institutions themselves to criticize certain ideas that are disseminated in colleges and universities. We also see theory as an important aspect of building a socialist movement. As a chapter, we've been working on developing a criticism of the dominant traditional social science taught in capitalist society and suggesting what a positive method of analyzing society would look like. We've been selecting readings and rewriting articles which are useful but difficult to understand, and putting them together to make them more available to people through articles and classes and other organizations. We've been thinking also about what kinds of courses should be offered at the university and getting a sense of the academic boards in order to respond to issues as they come up. We've circulated a petition with about 350 signatures and sent it to the economics board toward hiring Marxist economists. We've also been working on publicity for the West Coast Socialist Social Science Conference, which is sponsored by the Union of Marxist Social Scientists, and is going to be over Memorial Day weekend at Camp Minalooda near Nevada City, California, a couple hours away. And it's, the goal of the conference is going to be to share ideas and experiences in order to advance our understanding of radical social change. The conference will be organized around the ways in which class struggle manifests itself in racism and classism and sexism and elitism among ourselves and in society. There'll be workshops and films and presentations and parties. Registration needs to be in by May 15th. Further information and applications for the conference are in the back along with the literature. So for the rest of the month, we're going to be having business meetings and keeping on working on criticizing bourgeois social science. Then in the fall, we'll be getting back together, and if you're interested in working with IRPE UMass, we'll be advertising meetings then. Any questions? Thank you.
My name's Deanne. I'm from Santa Cruz Women Against Rape. We're a collective of about 12 women now who came together about 2.5 years ago to work around the issue of rape. And we identify ourselves as socialist feminists and are working to develop a socialist feminist theory and practice to connect rape to an overall critique of capitalism. We're trying to make more connections with other groups now who share our political perspective, and we're also interested in developing alternatives to deal with rapists and men who hassle women and children, like right now is an immediate thing. We're strongly opposed to the criminal justice system and see it as a way that especially oppresses third world and poor people. So we're working on, trying to find alternatives. Also, like education is an important priority, in that we want to help people understand the realities of rape and fight against those attitudes which condone rape and understand how rape is like a part of one of the forms of exploitation in this society. Okay, and we're also, like, to meet more immediate needs of women in this, like right now, like, you know, after a woman's been raped or hassled or assaulted, we've established the 24-hour rape line for support, encouragement, help women make connections between rape and other forms of exploitation. So I'll be around for a little while afterwards if people want to talk.
Hi, I'm Patty from the Women's Health Collective. The Santa Cruz Women's Health Collective is a socialist feminist organization that is about 3.5 years old. We work as a collective, and basically it has been through this structure that we've become socialist feminists. Our practice in the area of health has shown us that people's basic needs can never be met under capitalism. And as feminists, we realize that a socialist revolution alone will not transform our lives to the extent that we desire. As socialist feminists, we seek a revolutionary transformation of society that will encompass both our public and our personal lives. Up until the beginning of March, the Health Collective was running a well woman and an abortion clinic, aimed to be models of alternative, non-hierarchical health care. However, our application for a clinic license was denied recently, and we believe that this was basically because of strong anti-abortion feelings and forces in this community, and because of the fact that a socialist women's-run healthcare collective is a challenge to medical hierarchies and professionalism. Due to this clinic license denial, we were forced to cease all of our medical services, but we are fighting the decision and soliciting community support to help us open our clinics again soon. And we have some petitions in the back that you can sign if you want to help support us. Since that time of the closing, we've continued to focus on health and political education, both education of ourselves and work in the community. We are attempting to analyze the healthcare system here in Santa Cruz to develop strategy for changing it. And we see this kind of change as twofold, both short-term change that can help make our healthcare system in Santa Cruz better now, things such as patient advocacy, patients' bills of rights, and self-help. But also we see the need for long-term change of who has the power and control of healthcare, changes that capitalism cannot tolerate. We are continuing other healthcare-related services also. Our office is open from 10 till 4, Monday through Fridays, for people to come in and for counseling about health-related issues and to use our medical library. We also have a well-used 24-hour phone line and offer self-help groups, which are generally six-week groups in which to learn about and discuss our bodies, learn to do self-examination, and discuss the politics of socialist feminism and the politics of healthcare. And our internal education program has included such things as studying the current malpractice crisis, and such as it is, and ways to evaluate how our work in health is and is not the socialist feminist practice that we want it to be, as well. And also we're planning to write about what we have learned in developing our collective structure and process, and write about the ways we've developed politically. And we especially want to do this to share what we've learned in 3 years with other groups, especially groups who are just forming. While our work is in Santa Cruz, we realize that there are also broader health issues that concern all of us. Forced sterilization and population control, drug experimentation on poor non-white people, and the general inaccessibility or unavailability of health care to lower middle and working class people are just a few of the health-related problems we must combat everywhere. Presently, we are making contacts and trying to establish relationships to work with other socialists and health-related groups in order to build a larger socialist feminist movement. And we have stuff in the back, and we'll be here to talk to.
Hi, I'm Joan from the Socialist Feminist Union, and this is my dog, Anna, who's also a socialist feminist, member of the union. And the Santa Cruz Socialist Feminist Union was formed following a socialist feminist community conference this year on February 2nd. The conference grew from a simultaneous need from various women's groups in the community, such as the ones that just spoke, and women not directly affiliated with these groups, to come together and form a basis of support and unity. The conference was organized collectively by a group of women who presented such topics as the history of women in the left, definition of socialist feminism, and the history of the women's movement. It was directly orientated towards developing a socialist feminist union in Santa Cruz, and as a result, the union was formed. We have come together to form a socialist feminist union committed to developing socialist feminist theory and practice for revolutionary change in this country and in the Santa Cruz community as well. As socialist feminists, we understand that capitalism prevents people's real needs from being met and divides us among many lines. Therefore, we organize around combating sexism, racism, imperialism, and capitalism, as well as other forms of oppression. We also believe, as socialist feminists, that the personal is political, that what we each experience in our lives is not a result of personal inadequacy, but is an oppression common to all women, and that to see this gives us the power for political change. Since the conference, we have come together in a temporary structure with about 25 to 50 members who are working on the principles of unity in once-a-week meetings. We are currently in writing and discussing such questions as who are our oppressors, what is our socialist feminist visions, what are our goals. Small study groups have also been formed around socialist feminist theory and also around who rules Santa Cruz. Once our principles of unity are written, we'll go on to discuss what of our tactics for revolutionary change. As a union, we have already participated in various projects, though. We attended the West Coast Socialist Feminist Regional Conference, where we were members of the steering committee and spoke on socialist feminist practice in Santa Cruz. We were also members of the Rainbow Coalition and worked on the May Day celebration here in Santa Cruz. In weeks to come, we plan to speak to such issues as class, race, relationships between socialist feminists and the feminist movement, and our permanent structure. While developing our theory, though, we are continually working in the community and with this Santa Cruz community. We invite all women to work with us. Thank you.
So I just wanted to say thank you so much to Sarah and Ariel for inviting me to moderate this discussion. As Ariel previously mentioned, I recently wrote an article about International Videoletters, and this article built on the incredible scholarship of many of the people whose names I see in the audience tonight. So although I have a lot of questions prepared for Ariel and the rest of the Videoletters participants who are here tonight, I would also like to make sure that we leave ample time to hear from anyone else who has questions or who would like to participate in the discussion. And please correct me if I'm wrong about the protocol, Sarah, but I think you can feel free to raise your hand and say any questions or comments out loud, or put questions and comments in the chat box. Yeah, so I don't know if I should just start, Ariel, with asking you a question that I had, if that works for you. I thought maybe it would be interesting. You were talking briefly in the beginning about the origins of International Videoletters at the Feminist Eye Conference. And so I was wondering if you could just talk a bit more about
Please. Who are you?
Go ahead.
Sorry, I heard another voice. I wasn't sure if someone was saying something. But yeah, I was wondering if you could maybe talk a bit more about how the project started, and then how you grew this community and maintained it.
Well, so there were 9 groups. Once we got to LA, there were 9 groups. So there were 3 tapes, as I recall. I don't know, Francis and Kathy, you were on here. You might have some other memory about this, but tapes were shown at the Feminist Eye, and more groups joined at that point. And we had a structure pretty much between the 9 groups, but there were also a lot of other people who had heard about the project along the line. So we got a tape from Toronto at one point. There was a couple of tapes that came out of Florida. And I think the other thing that was a challenge for all of us, and I'd love to hear from other people how audience activity went on in your different communities. So I really would like to throw it out to other people to speak. So anybody out there who wants to respond? How about Tucson? Leslie, Lydia?
My recollection is that we did something similar to what you mentioned earlier about New York, is that we were all organizers in one way or another, and we made tapes about organizers. So it meant that we organized a gathering and invited women who we knew in feminist activist circles to come to the gathering, and then we would show the video letter. And then part of what we were supposed to do, either at that gathering or on some other occasion, was to record people's comments back to the cities whose video letters we were viewing. And so I know one of our surviving video letters has a delightful discussion where a bunch of women were speaking to the camera, but they were really speaking to maybe New York, if I recall, and talking about maybe New York. We thought it was so funny that we were paired with New York and Los Angeles, because we were, not a major media capital at all. But anyway, we that's what we did. We organized a gathering, reviewed the tapes, and then we recorded feedback back or appreciation back to the cities.
I'll read a little tiny thing about Tucson that was observed with a certain sense of excitement and expectation. We then watched the video letter made by Tucson feminists in media. Starting off with scenes shot in downtown Tucson, we observed as someone fried eggs on the sidewalk in 107-degree heat. Our general amusement peaked when the chef tried to sell an egg to a local policeman who appeared on the scene. Moving right along, we were taken to a newly opened coffee house and an interview with the owner, who, through her strong desire to create a nice public place for people to hang out in, was able to deal with all the realities of changing a dingy old store into her dream. Camera glitch, and a woman wearing a football helmet suddenly pops onto the screen. Describing her dull, survival-motivated job as a receptionist, she stated some of the advantages of wearing a helmet. No man has made any complete passes. It goes on, but it's a kind of a little bit lighter scene than the coverage of the meeting. But it was surprising. There was a lot of interesting little things that were noted about the responses people had to each tape, and so nice that it's a kind of a surprise, but so nice to see that was recorded, since it's kind of a rarity that there aren't a lot of tapes around.
I think one question that I have, that I've been trying to make up an estimate of how many tapes did we produce. I'm really curious to get a sense of what other people sort of thought is about that. Um,
I have no idea. It's like a blank, like unless we actually, kept track of it, I have no idea whatsoever. What I was trying to think of with the feedback was, I was trying to remember whether we did the feedback on a separate tape or if everyone left time on the end of their tapes to do the feedback and send it back, or if there was one separate feedback tape. I mean, the mechanism of what we did and how we sent the feedback. And I'm not clear on that, but it's a question that occurred to me while I was watching these tapes, and also realizing that, wow, like the woman talking on the Santa Cruz take about domestic workers, how many years did it take? 40 years? In New York, at least now, for some action to be taken on protection and minimum wage for some domestic workers, the reality of what we were trying to do at some level is to share the issues that we were all dealing with at the time. And I think that's kind of, the crux of what was going on.
Yeah, what this
one thing about, I, there's the tape that has the Mother Courage footage. It's in my collection at Schlesinger, and it's actually marked darts. So it was a recycled tape from something else. So we did do a fair amount of recycling of tapes. So I think that could, be a deterrent for finding a full volume at any point.
Yeah.
I think we have some questions. So Stacy Rose is raising a hand.
Thank you. I'm trying to just wonder, like, who has the majority of this collection, and what it's the historical significance to me is just incredible. Like, it should be somewhere in women's history books and museums, and there's just stuff that should not be forgotten and left alone. And especially since so many of the issues raised in just this little bit that I've seen, are still happening. Like, I started to think, oh, if Hillary was president, all these issues would be solved. But anyway, that's a whole nother situation. But what's the future of these tapes? Is my question, really.
Well, we've been trying to work on getting them at some of them, in private hands into some collections. And right now, to my knowledge, they're in 5 different collections, 5 different archives. So Getty has 2. The newest to enter into that is Visual Studies Workshop in Rochester has a few tapes from the Rochester group. And Carol, you have some tapes that are soon to go to the Media Burn. Tell a little bit about what's in your tapes. Do you remember?
I don't remember. I meant to look it up before tonight again to see. I don't remember. One of them might be one of them that I did, which was about the New York City Feminist Credit Union. But there might be another one from another city in it, and it's not labeled. That's the problem. The Feminist Credit Union one, was kind of, the credit union didn't last that long, but it had just begun. And it was new, and so much feminist activity was happening at that time, and I did a videotape that wasn't just the standing thing. I tried to do a little mini documentary. That's all that I remember, and it wasn't that skillful at it as I had hoped I'd be, but it was it was what it was at the time. So I felt good about doing it, because that sense of women's independence from having to have at the time a man sign for a loan was one of the reasons for the opening up of feminist credit unions, because banks were just not that hospitable to women who wanted loans. I I'll send you the info as soon as I have it.
Oh, Francis, you can.
Susan, you've been trying to speak for a while. Why
No,
don't you?
that's okay. I can wait.
Okay, I was actually just wanting to respond to the question that was in the chat from Nicole about how watching the tapes made us feel. And first of all, I'm so thrilled to be on here and see people like Leslie who I probably haven't seen since the feminist eye. But what really I felt at the time for all of us that was so exciting that sometimes we take for granted now, because here we all are on social media and Zoom and whatever, communicating with each other. But the fact that we were able to find out what we were doing in such an immediate way through those video letters that now seems like a no-brainer, but then it was really a big deal. And I just would, we would get so excited, and I think Kathy, you're on here too. We would get so excited when, a tape would come from New York or from Tucson, and we would set up a screening, usually at the Women's Building. And my memory is that we would then immediately record the feedback on the same tape and send it on. And so it was just a continual build. And I felt like it was a really important organizing tool for us. But what I don't think that any of us realized then, and somebody, Stacy just addressed this, is also what historic importance it was going to have. I mean, had we realized that, we probably would have been a little bit more diligent about making sure we preserved these tapes in ways that they, we're trying to do now. But I was so struck watching the Santa Cruz tape of how important those voices were and are, and relevant to today. And I don't think we probably imagined that 50 years later we would still be addressing exactly the same issues, which is both heartbreaking and just interesting to me, but also to see the number of really young, powerful, articulate voices that we saw just actually made my heart sort of happy as well. So unfortunately, I don't have a lot of strong memories about how we pulled this all off. I think, Ariel, you've done a really great job of trying to, pull that together. But I'm just struck with what an important moment of our history that was. And Joan Logue, it's great to see you.
Yes, it's great to see you, Joan. Okay, so I and the late Sheila Ruth, we made one video letter. I was part of the Feminist Studio Workshop at the Women's Building. This what we call the Feminist Studio Workshop video letter is distributed by Video Data Bank. And it's been preserved for years. I guess I must have kept transferring it with the different formats as time went on. Our video, we only did one screening. I have no memory of doing feedback. Maybe the Feminist Eye did additional video letters. The video letter that I made with Sheila Ruth was a day in the life at the Women's Building. So, and it had a little dramatic opening that we staged. I won't go into that. And then there was an interview with Judy Chicago, who was doing a book signing. And then Sheila de Bretteville had brought Eileen Gray Show, who was an underknown designer from the 1920s, and had the first show of her work in Los Angeles. until she was talking about the show. And then we went upstairs and Susan King had organized a quilt show. So, and then Meg Harlem was talking about the printing press, as well as, oh, I can't believe some of these names are coming to me. And I can't remember. So you got a sense of some things that were done at the building, some special events. So that's what it was. It was very different from the active, I mean, I shouldn't say this, but you could say it was very different. It was very different from what we just saw with Santa Cruz and the activist on a particular issue. This was more about what we had done as a cultural center. And that's what it was representing, that video letter. So that's, and no, it was fun. It was fun to do, and it was really kind of amazing that it was all we edited it all on the camera. We didn't have any editing facilities there. So kind of proud of that.
So I think there's some questions from the audience. Someone is asking, were any shown on early public access TV? And then there's also a question, how did watching the tapes at the time make you feel, and what was the impact of the work? And I think it would be interesting also maybe to hear about now watching, you know, how does it feel to watch these tapes again now, and thinking about the impact at them as well.
Okay, the public access was, if it existed in some community, it was in complete infancy. I don't think I mean, to my knowledge, none of the tapes, certainly in New York, public access didn't develop until later. You know,
that's not true.
I
That's not
couldn't
true,
just,
Ariel.
I was
That's
just about
true.
to say,
Public access
they
exists.
were,
Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, Carol.
sorry.
I was involved with the first public access celebration in New York in 1972, I think it was, and it was the first year of public access, but it was only in Manhattan, and it wasn't in all of Manhattan. It was part of Manhattan, and I was part of the early video groups, including the Video Freaks, who were there then, who were in Lower Manhattan, and People's Video Theater. There were a number of video groups, and then there were some community groups on the Upper West Side in Washington Heights, the Community Cable Center of Washington Heights, and West Side Video. We're shooting local community videos on issues and putting them on public access, but we never put any video letters on the public access channels.
I actually did find an announcement that there were some videos that were going to be aired on public access TV, and I believe it was Seattle. If you like, I can search for this. I'll search for this. I don't know if it, you know, I don't know if it's necessarily proof that it happened, but I know that there was something written about plans to do this. But I'll look through my documents and see if I can find it.
Great. That's one of the important things about this show, is sharing this kind of information. So about 7 or 8 years ago, maybe not quite that long ago, I put together a 2-page description about video letters, and I posted it online somewhere. And then I went on Twitter looking for videotapes. Within 24 hours, somebody communicated with me that there were videotapes at Media Burn. And I didn't know anything about Media Burn at the time. So there's an interesting sort of interrelationship between searching for material and how the internet can be a tool for helping us do that. And so, and also in LA, there was another woman named Janice Yarl. I'm not, maybe don't have her last name right, but I think she came through the video teaching program that happened a little bit later than So, and at one point I had brief communication with her, and she has a couple of tapes, but it's hard to move us all forward in bringing the tapes out of our closets and shoeboxes.
I'd be willing to copy these 2 articles and make them available to people, because there's a lot of stuff about dealing with some of these questions, how different people dealt with where they, feedback and who was doing what, and there's a lot of stuff that is resonant with some of the questions that have been asked, and I think I have them. I think I have them in a PDF. But it would. I don't know if there's a way to do it so that I don't know if you have a complete distribution list. For the people who are here, like, rather than doing piecemeal. You think we could do something like that? Because it's useful information that responds to some of the queries.
Well, one thing we can do is any resources that you all find in the near term, we can sort of send out in one email to everyone who is registered for this. I'm sure that won't reach everyone who's interested, but it'll reach people who are interested enough to come to this. And we're happy to sort of collect them all and share them in sort of one email to everyone, if that helps.
Oh, that would be good. Thank you.
Yeah, I guess we just have two minutes left. So if anyone has the last question.
I was trying to unmute. There's a question in the chat about the National Federation of Cable Programmers. And one of the things I do remember, it was again it was before video letters, that there was a whole group of people who went out and lobbied, went out to California. I did a car ride across California with a couple of people to lobby at the National Federation of Local Cable Programmers. It was meeting in the Los Angeles area at the time. Around it's a public access, but at video letters, at least in New York, we weren't that involved with public access. Most of the videos were shown at the Women's Inner Arts Center, and it was not the easiest place to get to. It was all the way on West 52nd Street, I think it was. So, but we would get, I think, we would get 20, 25 people at the most, I think. It wasn't big crowds, but we would get people coming to them. So I don't remember where they all came from and who they were.
I was going through my file on video letters. It's the only file I had Schlesinger copy for me. And I actually have the sign-in sheets of people who came to the shows. So actually there's another sort of piece of the record of sort of an interesting ephemera of the events.
I just want to say that there's been an article written, I mean, I could send it to one of you people who are organizing everything, that she must be a feminist, film studies scholar in Germany, Ulrike Hanstein, wrote about, the video letter I did, and it's something, that people are now, now people are interested in this from all over. And Video Data Bank is such a great, I distribute all my work through them. I'm a big fan, but it's just interesting that that people are interested in these video letters, not just us few here, but internationally.
Tracy, you have your hand raised.
Let's see if you guys can hear me. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, you can. Great. Listen, I just want to really thank you. I don't know many of you, but Ariel and I went to the same college, and I've been watching her feminist media activism for decades. I'm just so appreciative, Frances. Nice to see you. And I'm one of the founders of the Women's Building and Women's Foundations in Northern California, and have been a feminist activist in donor education, trying to get more money to the feminist causes and other causes, social justice. And I just want to say this stuff is incredibly valuable. I think everybody, this is a moment. There's no mistake that this is happening now. we are all terrified and mad about Trump and the capitalism, patriarchy, all the things that are in these states, abortion, all the stuff that, you know, is upon us. And, you know, there's no mistake. So the whole issue, I've been really working with a group of international feminists on what can we do about the fact that, you know, we have to create a whole new system and a whole new sense of what's possible for the world. We have not been able to get, as Ariel has been so persistent, I just love you for doing this. Where is the feminist media activism? Where are the feminist media people? You know, where is feminism in media? Because unless we have those percentages and we have that, you know, that material out there, we're never going to actually be able to transform anything. So I just think there should be a strategic discussion and meeting, networking with a few other places that are really trying to look at the fact that patriarchy is self-destroying. It's destroying the planet also. You know, I mean, I could go on and on. We all know the same thing. And what are the strategic things that what are the partnerships that we could have right now? What's really needed? And we know that there's money for feminist media that has to happen as part of a strategy for actually transforming society, or are we all going to just give up? And, you know, it's like, it's really hard on a daily basis as somebody in my 70s not go, Jesus, we worked this hard and we, you know, have we made progress? And so it is a wonderful thing to see that. But then you start thinking, oh my fuck, are we really going over the same things we did 40, 50 years ago? And the answer is yes. So it's changed. There's lots of great feminist media continuing to be out there, but I welcome a more strategic second part discussion. I thank you for letting me run over. And thank you each for participating and continuing your good work.
Well, Sarah, that's your conference, isn't it? Or part of it?
Yeah, I wanted to say that. Yeah, join us in Chicago in April 19th to 21st for a conference on guerrilla television. We'd love to have all of you there. There's info on our website. It's free. It's at the University of Chicago. Yeah, well, thank you all for joining us tonight. This was such a wonderful discussion, fascinating to hear about. I really, really enjoyed it. And thank you so much to Ariel and Lexington in particular for, you know, taking the time out to do this and organize it. And definitely anyone who has any resources that you want to try to get to everyone else, you can send them to me. It's just sarah@mediaburn.org. You can spell Sarah wrong. It'll get to me either way. And yeah, I'll try to send out something after I feel like people have finished sending me stuff. I'll try to send out one thing compiling all the stuff that everyone sent. So hopefully everyone can have a unified resource.